But the trajectory they are going in for all intent and to all intent and purposes is completely turning upside down.
You mentioned something about third term. Is this something we should start thinking about? Should we be worried about?
Ghanaians must be worried and fiercely resist that. And it's not just third term. They are pushing to have lifetime, lifetime in office. That is the agenda they are pushing.
Lifetime for an individual.
Lifetime for President Mahama. That is what they are pushing for.
I don't know how that works.
These things begin. We started by whoever believed that will rise up in this country and Justice Tokono will be removed unlawfully. No, when we cautioned, people didn't believe. Eventually it happened. And then whoever believed that they will go ahead after removing Chief Justice to set the machinery in place to go and remove the electoral commissioner. They have started long before, just after we cautioned. So that is the path they are going. Now they are setting that agenda. So ask yourself, what at all, after obtaining 188 seats, what at all did they need additional seats for which they put Ernest Kumi through a series of harassment and forcefully trying to whisk away the seat from him. Number of times I accompanied the late Ernest Kumi to the Supreme Court. Very pathetic. They put him through all sort of stress. He died eventually. They coveted that seat. Even in his death, they coveted that seat. And after coveting the seat, somebody who is alive, after all the frustration they put Honorable Yindam through, they go through the courts, and because they have succeeded in removing Chief Justice, now they're succeeding in obtaining any judgment at all in their favor. And so in a matter which contention relates to just about 500 seats, in an election that Honorable Yindam won by over 3,700 seats, which even if you decide to even dash NDC...
And the matter of contention is about 500 votes.
Just about 500 votes. If you even decide to dash them all those votes,
he still wins.
He still wins 3,200. And you still want to forcibly claim that seat. You are ordering a rerun. So what do you need? So what do you need all those seats for if you don't have an ill motive for securing all that? And so you want to set an agenda to get a third term, and then now they will be renewing and renewing. And see, this appetite of some heads of states in Africa completely bastardizing the tenets of democracy that brought them into power. And when they get into power, they get drunk into suppose some artificial goodwill and set all kinds of agenda. People must rise up, and people must resist this kind of oppression. That is not the kind of democracy we saw. We have had 9 parliaments. There has never been any parliament that this bizarre chaos has been presided over by a Speaker of Parliament. And so Ghanaians must be sad. All the minority, we only stood to fight for democracy. We stood to fight for the people of Pandai who went to the polls and legitimately elected their member of Parliament. And today, for whatever reason why they need it, is it sheer greed? Or it's more than greed? Is it beyond greed? Is it that they want to turn the country into a one-party state? So the dissenting voices don't matter anymore. And so in the whole parliament, that ought to be conducted in order. Well, we have what we call standing orders. When you have standing orders, what it means is that the business of parliament ought to be conducted orderly and in a particular fashion, guided by rules. And so if you have a speaker presiding who sets aside and glosses over the rules of parliament and still conducts business as though there are no rules, and this is the precedent we are setting, so from today, is that how parliament must conduct business? As though you're in a jungle? That's very, very
okay. So what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, so tomorrow we'll get back to Parliament, and then we'll take it from there.
I see. We'll need your time again on Thursday, because with the actual matter we're going to discuss is the bill, the police document, which we can discuss on Thursday. Let me ask Mr. what people are saying about what we have been discussing so far. Mr., what are people saying?
Thank you very much, Paul. So I have from Yusuf Muniru. He says, Paul, it's a very sad day for our long-time democracy. I still don't understand the majority. With this number and they are misbehaving like this. Paul, to be honest, politics is becoming more fearful than Satan. Sorry, though. But am I lying? How can you be smiling, sitting, sometimes even eating with someone? Immediately you get small problems with him or her. It becomes like hellfire. It's shameful. And from Junior, Agba Tamale, he says, I don't believe that this is our mother Ghana. What is happening in Parliament? NDC for you. But they have to remember that 2028 is just around the corner. DMB will come and save this country. It is possible. And from Kwejo Boache, he says, Ghana must be careful. If this is happening in Parliament, then I am worried. Nana Yao Kumidans also says, is this Ghana's democracy under President Mahama? And from Eli Obama Tamale, he says, good evening, Paul. Please ask Honorable Ntim to provide insights into why Honorable Ayariga was displeased with the minority for telling him that Boko is burning and that his people in Boko are looking for him. Was his displeasure due to the fact that Boko is not burning or that the people are not looking for him? Additionally, I am not surprised that the costs incurred during the Akwetia by-election are 3 times of the money spent in Boko, considering the thievery nature of the NDC government. And lastly, from Victor Tay Nauto, he says, Parliament has become an adult daycare center. Back to you, Paul.
Wow, okay. We have our 2 guests. Okay, we're still checking. Ibrahim Sani there has joined us already. We have another one coming. Reverend, is that correct? Should I read that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, Laura Edie sends me a text message, and he says that the Speaker did not rule that the Pandai seat has been declared vacant. Rather, he said if prior to the expiration of the statutory 7-day period, Honorable Nindam files a stay of appeal, it will further extend the stay period until the matters are dealt with by the appellate courts. The MP has duly filed a stay, appeal, and certiorari at the Supreme Court, and Parliament was duly served. If the majority really wanted to challenge the ruling of the Speaker on the possibility of the extension of the stay period in the event that the MP exercises his right of appeal, they know what to do. But they didn't do that. Can you clarify that?
So I'm sure the person is referring to the earlier ruling, much earlier on the matter, which Speaker ruled that, yes, the MP still has a valid seat and is still an member of Parliament while the processes are going on. Then he turns around, takes a U-turn.
The Speaker changes the ruling.
And then directs the clerk to write to EC, which letter is in circulation, declaring the seat vacant.
Did the clerk say, I'm directed by the Speaker?
Yes. Your producers may be able to display that. And the only time the clerk makes such communication formal to the Electoral Commission is under the direction of the Speaker. And so that is a decision that we drew the attention of the Speaker to rescind, because we think that is in error. And we even thought that it wasn't a letter that was coming from them and they would have disclaimed it, because in these days you have a lot of fake letters in the system. So whilst waiting for such pronouncements to be made on the matter, it just made sense that after past 7 p.m., you adjourn. Tomorrow, we said the ruling is done first thing at proceeding, and then we proceed on to other businesses. But you see, there seems to be serious appetite on the part of the NDC to want to be conducting reruns and by-elections. Now, they are not targeting only Pandai. They are targeting Tema, they are targeting Suhum, they are targeting about 4 seats more from this. They want to illegally just use judicial system and then just bulldoze their way through. And there seems also to be some financial incentives. And I'm sure later on we'll have more time to talk about it. Because when we interrogated the security sector, they blew 38.65 million cedis on Akwetia by-election alone. And so they might probably spend another 45 million cedis on Pandai and spend 50 million on others they have slated. So by the time they are done with this 40, they would have blown nearly over 200 million on just reruns and by-elections. Then you also ask the question
of taxpayers' money.
Of taxpayers' money. Then you also ask a question about how insecurity is funded. And if you check the records of how much they've expended, over 20 million in Binyiri conflict, which was triggered by just something very little, escalated, displacing over 48,000 people, 23,000 among them becoming refugees, 10,000 in Burkina Faso and 13,000 in Ivory Coast. We spent 20,000 and the expenditure is still ongoing. Boko, just the past few months, we spent 20 million on, we spent 20 million on Benyiri and we spent another 19.4 million on Boko. So if you look at the conflict undertones in Pandai and you have national security briefing as commander-in-chief, if you want the stability of your country and the security of your country is something that matters to you, you will not take reckless decisions. Because what the decisions they are taking now is bringing up, resurrecting certain buried differences. It is bringing tensions and the insecurity situations that is arising from, a Pandai. It's not one we should be excited, we should be worried. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, the chiefs in Pandai held a press conference and sounded the alarm to President Mahama that if he really thinks about the peace of this country and Pandai, he should rescind that decision and not even think about the rerun, because the kind of chaos, the kind of conflict, and the kind of atrocities that this decision will occasion will be regrettable. We shouldn't get there. They sounded that alarm. And so they just want to go in because when they create insecurity situations and when they set brothers against brothers and they are killing each other and bastardizing each other, they gain financially from it in the name of national security and police keeping peace. They blew 20 million. They blew 20 million on Benyiri, and they blew so far 19.4 million on Boko, and it's still running expenditure. And they blew 38 million on Akwetia just a single day. So imagine how many of these monies. It seems like some NDC wants to plunge this country into a one-party state, and by so doing plunge us into insecurity, benefit financially from it, and then turn around, conduct reruns, by-elections, cash in on it rather criminally, and then destroy the country. So we need to be worried, and we must see what we saw in Parliament today. It was a helpless Parliament. It was a very helpless Parliament, a Parliament that is standing on law, independent, and supposed to be conducted in decorum. And just because the minority is standing up to protect our democracy, that is the kind of violence we're met with. And it is regrettable. This is the first in the history of our democracy that we have had a speaker presiding and this chaos occurring and still doing business like nobody's business.
We'll speak to you again. We'll speak to you again this week. So you have Parliament tomorrow and Thursday and Friday?
Very much so.
When does Parliament go for Christmas?
Yeah, early part of next week, hopefully.
Early part of next week. So you have a few days to go.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry about the experience. It looks like it's truly a bad day in Parliament.
Oh, no, true. It's truly a bad day for any believer in democracy in Ghana. And for us as political elites, we must be worried. Because when all these things happen, then there are other people are taking a look. Just like happened in Benin, happened in Guinea-Bissau. They just think that you have benefited from democracy and you are abusing the very tenets that brought you into power, and then instability occurs. Let us pray for Ghana. We are not in normal times.
We need to really pray for Ghana. Okay.